Good morning. Before we start, I would just like to say, for those of us who served under monsoon rains or desert sandstorms, this is pretty good weather. Good morning and welcome to Wood National Cemetery. Please rise for the presentation of colors by the United States Coast Guard and Grand Army of the Republic Post 8, followed by the national anthem, God Bless America, and the invocation. Color guard post.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave? God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
May we bow our heads. Almighty, sovereign God, the maker of all things, the giver and sustainer of life, and the host of life more abundantly, incline your ears to us take up residence now in our hearts, minds, and thoughts, so that everything that occurs in this service begins with you, and through you let all that is done find providential fulfillment and divine purpose. Abide now with us as we remember and pay respects to all those, our comrades and sisters, who have laid down their lives in the service of our country, who have made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve the freedom of humankind and have labored to uphold justice and defend the values of human dignity across the continents. Aid us now to reflect favorably upon the work and deeds of those who have passed on from earthly labors to eternal rewards, and allow the reminiscences of their works to be a flame of inspiration for generations to come. Forgive us now for our past negligence to appreciate the preserved freedoms that we have taken for granted. Now enable us to treasure the abundant blessings that we have received because of those who have paved the way for us. And make us ever mindful of the blessings that you are about to bestow upon us. We ask it all in the name of the one who is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we could ask or think, the true and living God, we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the host of today's ceremony, Teresa Thomas of Wood National Cemetery.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our annual Memorial Day program here at Wood National Cemetery. We are honored that you could be here with us today as we pause to honor those who served our community and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Our cemetery serves as a final resting place for military men and women of every era except the Revolutionary War. We have Buffalo soldiers, Medal of Honor recipients, and Michelle Whitmer, the first woman from Wisconsin to be killed in Iraq. Each name and each gravestone tells us a story, and we remember them all today. I am grateful to all the veterans in the community who helped make this day a special day. I'd like to welcome some very special guests we have with us today from our Regional Veterans Benefits Administration Director, Dwayne Honeycutt, our Clement Zablocki Medical Center Director, Robert Beller, from Hamilton High School, Matt Lapine, and we have a special guest who will be doing a poem, Matt Mansfield, from the Stars and Stripes Honor Flight, James McClee, West Milwaukee Village President Ronald Hayward, Milwaukee County Executive Chris Abelli, Senator Tammy Baldwin, and our guest speaker, Eldorado Garza. We also like to give special thanks. We also like to give special thanks to today's American Legion Band, who has performed our Memorial Day ceremony for more than 7 decades. And special thanks to you, and welcome our distinguished Vietnam veterans here in this section who are taking part of today's Armed Forces Melody. Yes. Veterans who are taking part in today's Armed Forces Melody: Brenton McKee, Dell Patterson, Ben McLeod, Joe Stemmick, Don Clark, Jimmy McKee, and Bob Monet. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen.
The front lines of World War I were often barren strips of lifeless land, littered with rats and mice. Though the land was stripped of life, a sign of hope bloomed in those front lines, the red field poppy. Canadian soldier John McCrae wrote a poem about the poppies growing in the barren artillery positions in Flanders Field. I'd like to now introduce Matt Stark, who will recite Flanders Field.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely sing. Flies scarce heard amid the guns below. We are dead short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow. Loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Matt. That was excellent. As we recognize the sacrifices of these men and women who served the great nation, we must also ensure the stories and Memorial Day traditions are carried from generation to generation. I'd now like to introduce Matt Lapine to give a presentation for us. Thank you, Matt.
I am honored as an average 15-year-old to have this opportunity to speak to you today. What does Memorial Day mean to you? For a lot of people, and myself included, it meant opening the cottage, fishing, or cleaning out the garage, and having a family barbecue. But for me, it's an important day, meant to remember something extremely important that should affect everyone. Memorial Day changed for me when I met World War II veteran by the name of Harvey Kurz. I met Harvey during the 7th grade social studies project, assigned by my teacher, Alan Schneider. For the project, we had to interview someone in World War II era. Because of Mr. Schneider, I was inspired to go further in this assignment and really get to know some of these veterans on a more personal level. I went on my first honor flight and met Harvey. From there, we set up a date where we could go out for lunch and then go back to his house so I could interview him. I arrived at his house late in the afternoon, and by the time we were done talking, it was well past 1 in the morning. There was a lot of history to learn, and I was talking directly to this history. My life changed the moment I heard his stories, and drastically changed the meaning of Memorial Day for me. It's easy to lose sight of what this day truly means, being 15 years old, or even being 50 years old. I have talked to multiple veterans of multiple wars, from World War II to the Korean conflict to Vietnam and Afghanistan. All these brave men and women, though they have fought in different wars and in different eras, they have some things in common. They all have respect for the American way of life and our flag, and they remember times of grueling training with fellow comrades and fun times with friends in the service, but they all distinctly remember our fallen heroes of America. Harvey and other veterans, including World War II veteran Julian Plaster and Vietnam veteran and Purple Heart recipient Harley Larson, have all opened my eyes to what Memorial Day really means to me. Memorial Day is about remembering what brave men and women did for our great nation. Because of their sacrifices, I am given the opportunity to stand here in front of you and tell you what Memorial Day means to me. We have to remember what America's military has done for us. There might not be blowout sales because we were taken over by communism, or we would not be speaking English because Nazi Germany invaded our country. We might be saluting a Japanese flag instead of our stars and stripes, or living with frequent terrorist attacks on our soil. We wouldn't have the rights we have today if it wasn't for our fallen soldiers. Because of our brave men and women, we are here today. They deserve to be remembered for what they have done for all of us. We need to all think, where would we be right now if it wasn't for our brave men and women, if they didn't sacrifice everything? I will remember the action taken by the United States military for the rest of my life, and I will honor that service. I hope everyone else does too. No matter what war you fought in or what your job was, you are a hero to me. Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Excellent job, Matt. Thank you very much. Here now to speak on the importance of ensuring the youth of today understand the significance of setting aside this special day to honor the men and women who died for us. Ladies and gentlemen, from Hamilton High School, Matt Lapine. Oh, he just... He's been in the program twice. It was such a good speech. Thank you for the inspirational words, Matt Lapine. That really was an excellent presentation. Our next speaker has served as Milwaukee County's executive since 2011, where his focus has been on strengthening safety net services such as public transportation, child support, and mental health care. He currently serves on the board for the Boys and Girls Club, Schools That Can Milwaukee, and the Carr Center for Human Rights Policy at Harvard University. Please welcome Milwaukee County Executive Chris Abele.
Well, first of all, I want to say nobody should feel bad about saying Abele or Abela or anything but Abele, which is my last name. As long as it's pronounced, I feel happy to be recognized. Second, I want to say what Matt just said, in some ways, better says what any of us could say. As some of you may know, and everybody has a similar story, or many of you, I grew up in Boston, and as a child, there was two prominent pictures that I remember. They were on the wall of our house. One was of a submarine, and the other one was of a destroyer. The submarine, as I grew older, I learned to know was the USS Grunion, which my grandfather had been the commander of in World War II. His last posting was out of Dutch Harbor, Alaska, which is about as remote from this country and certainly here in Wisconsin as you can imagine. His job was to escort cargo and mostly frigates in and out of Dutch Harbor. On one of those missions, he was one of 4 American ships. They encountered a Japanese convoy of 9, which included destroyers and sub-chasers. My grandfather radioed Navy Command and said essentially, if we all run, we're all dead. One of us should buy time. It doesn't make sense for the others to do it. So the 3 other boats made as fast as they could for Dutch Harbor. And my grandfather and 70 men engaged a convoy of 9 Japanese ships. They sank 2 sub-chasers. They sank 1 destroyer. They hit another. The torpedo failed. And in those days, the sub had to surface to fire. And torpedoes left a bubble trail. People on the Kanu Maru, which was the Japanese boat that they hit, torpedo failed, saw that bubble trail. They went to a deck gun and ended up sinking that submarine. It's been clear to me in my entire life, all 70 people, all 70 on that submarine knew when the other 3 boats left and they went to engage 9 Japanese ships that they were unlikely to return. And they made that decision to do it anyway. It's an extraordinary story and one for which my grandfather was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross. What's more extraordinary is it's one of thousands of stories exactly like that. Memorial Day isn't a day for advocacy or politics, but it's a time for reverence and remembrance. As Jefferson wrote in the Declaration, the primary role of government is to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all its citizens. Every year, we take Memorial Day to remember all those who have given, as Lincoln expressed it best in the Gettysburg Address, their full final measure of devotion to the protection of that idea. And we do this because we know that what we don't endeavor to remember, we are resigned to forget. Because we know that we cannot vigilantly continue to protect what is priceless about the ideals of this country if we don't value them. And it can be easy to forget. On Memorial Day, we implore ourselves and everyone in this country to never forget the hundreds of thousands of men and women who've given their lives to protect this country and the liberties on which it's based. And we implore ourselves to never devalue or diminish in any way the sacrifices they've made by ever taking for granted what they fought for. Inscribed on the walls of the War Memorial down by the lake, and many of you have seen this, are the words, "To honor the dead by serving the living." I've always believed the single best way to honor their sacrifices is to live lives that are worthy of them, to see each and every day that we are blessed to live in this country and know that there are many thousands of stories of extraordinary valor, heroism, and sacrifice that make it possible. Living a life worthy of their sacrifice means citizenship, not partisanship. Since the Revolution and through every single war and conflict, American lives have been lost. Not a single man or woman has fought for Whigs or Tories, for Federalists or Anti-Federalists, for Republicans or Democrats, in any of the many ways those parties have defined themselves over the last almost 250 years. They have fought for Americans. In 1873, shortly after the Civil War, it became a federal law that all coins in the country carry the motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Those words are on the seal of the United States and on the seals of all three branches of government, the President, the House and the Senate, and the Supreme Court. The notion that our society can hold as an ideal that out of our very diverse many, we can be one, might seem a strange motto to young people today who see a country where political partisanship is at one of the highest levels it's been in a century. Or that in our Pledge of Allegiance, we say one nation under God, indivisible, when sometimes we seem awfully divisible. But if seeing citizenship as an American for the extraordinary privilege it is seems at all questionable, if understanding that we can have an enormous range of differing views and opinions and still treat each other with civility and respect required of any democracy that deserves to endure, if that seems like a heavy lift, take today to remember all the countless lives that have been given, knowing it is neither questionable nor a heavy lift. Remember and honor those who are gone, and value above all what they gave their lives to respect and protect. E pluribus unum. God bless you all. God bless everyone who served. God bless the lives represented by every single one of those stones and the countless others around the country. And God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Abley. Our next speaker served on the Madison City Council, the Dane County Board of Supervisors, and in the Wisconsin State Assembly. In 1998, Wisconsin's 2nd Congressional District elected her to the U.S. House of Representatives. She served 7 terms in the House and was elected to the U.S. Senate in 2012. Please welcome U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin.
Well, good morning. Veterans, service members, families, distinguished guests, I couldn't be more honored than to join you again today at this Memorial Day ceremony. Votes last Friday in the Senate prevented me from making it back for the Purple Heart ceremony for Russell Seeger. And I'd like to take a moment to honor the service and sacrifice of Russell, who was described by those who knew him as a quiet helper. Please join me in paying tribute to his life's work and all that he gave in service and care to others. Russell gave of himself in service to our country as a captain in the Army Reserve. He gave of himself serving our veterans when they returned home, providing care at the VA for soldiers struggling with mental health issues. He gave of himself as an educator, helping others to achieve their dreams. Today, let us honor the purpose-driven life of a man who, every step of the way, gave his life to something bigger than himself. And on this Memorial Day, we join together as a community to pay tribute to all who served and sacrificed to protect and defend the American freedoms that we all cherish. Today and every day we hold families who have lost a loved one in our hearts. The parents, spouses, children, siblings, and friends who've carried the weight of sacrifice need to know that they do not walk forward alone. As we honor the memory of Wisconsin's sons and daughters who have made the ultimate sacrifice, let us also take the time to remember that we all have a shared responsibility to do our part to ensure that military families and wounded warriors receive the support and care that they have earned and deserve. They have done more for our country than anyone could ever expect. They face every struggle and challenge and work to rise above it. And they need to know what an inspiration they are to me and to every citizen in Wisconsin. We are standing with you always. And I will say this, when you look into the eyes of a soldier or a family member who's lost one, you're reminded of the American values that hold us together as a country and as a community. You are reminded of the values that define us as one nation united. Each generation has a responsibility to remember and honor those values and the sacred trust that we have with our service members, our veterans, and their families. I think that must be the flyover that's happening. Each generation has an obligation to serve and support our military families in communities across Wisconsin. Oh, there's a flyover, so I'm going to take a break before I conclude. Each generation has an obligation to serve and support our military families in the communities across Wisconsin. Remember, we can all do our part. So on this solemn day, let us draw strength from the courageous sacrifice of those we honor. Let us stand together and remember these American patriots and the American values that we share. Let us all be inspired by their service to the great nation that we are blessed to call home.
Thank you, Senator Baldwin. Our final speaker today is Director of Veteran Services at Concordia University of Wisconsin. He is a U.S. Navy veteran and was a driving force in establishing the first American Legion post on a Wisconsin college. American Legion Post 1881 in 2008. He volunteered during Operation Iraqi Freedom and assumed duties as a lead Sunni intelligence officer, which included reconciliation operations between Sunni insurgent groups, multi-international forces, and the Iraqi government. His father, also a veteran, served in the Vietnam War. Please welcome Ed Garza.
Good morning. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored and privileged to be here with you today to commemorate the sacrifices of our selfless brothers and sisters who have served our great nation. Today, we take time to reflect on the everlasting memories we've shared with our heroes, but we must consider the fighting spirit in which they served to protect and defend the core principles that truly make the United States of America the best country in the world. Today, it is no secret, we are experiencing some challenges in our nation that we must overcome. Challenges will be difficult, but anything worth fighting for is always going to be difficult. These men and women interred at Wood National Cemetery are a testament of that fight. We must remember to tell their stories. It is perhaps most important to ensure our younger generation know these stories of sacrifice as well. The men and women we remember today persevered during times of uncertainty, but they always completed the mission. They didn't do it for recognition, but everything they did provided better opportunities for their family, fellow Americans, and our future generations. The question we should consider today is, how do we carry the legacy of our heroes in providing a better tomorrow in our community? As Americans, we should consider more involvement in our communities with organizations that are focused on making a difference. If we explore an organization that we have a passion for, please take the time to explore those opportunities to be involved. That way, what we are doing is not work. It becomes our mission and our passion to make it better than it was the day before, the month before, the year before. The opportunity to mentor young people is critical. There is no better time than right now to be involved with our youth and young adults. We all needed someone to help us grow to maturity and adulthood. I can personally say I didn't get to where I am today all by myself. In January 2005, I received word that I was selected for a Naval Officer Commission in the intelligence community. Almost immediately after that selection, I was advised on a Navy tradition of officers who commission and receive their first salute. We were advised that the person we picked to give us our first salute would also receive a silver dollar coin to signify the occasion and as a token of appreciation. I wanted to honor a special person for all that he had done for me. So I asked him to give me my first salute, and he agreed to fly to Washington, D.C. to join me and my family for the occasion. About 1 month later, at the U.S. Navy Memorial, in front of 250 plus people, the MC read the name Chief Engineman Eduardo M. Garza Sr., United States Navy, retired. Please come to center stage. It was that moment everyone in the room realized that my father was going to give his son his first salute as a naval officer. But it was that moment I realized something else. While my dad was in full dress uniform, I saw the ribbons on his chest. Not only did he do the one tour that we all thought, he completed 4 tours in Vietnam. Thank you, Dad, for doing what you did. To all of our veterans and to all of their families and friends of those who have passed, we honor here today and around the country. You are the quiet leaders and mentors that we have learned from by your ability to model what an American patriot looks like and represents. And we appreciate everything you have done for our community and our great nation. We honor your sacrifice and dedication to duty. But most importantly, we love you and thank you and your families. Thank you and God bless.
The Milwaukee American Legion Band will now perform the Armed Forces Medley. Veterans, please stand when your service song is played. We also have special guests to introduce: 6 World War II veterans and a Korean War veteran escorting the service flags. The Army, Brenson McKee. Del Peterson. Ben McLeod. They are escorted by Patrick Alcocher. Marines, Joe Stimick, escorted by Harley Larson. United States Navy, Don Clark, escorted by Thomas Gaynard. United States Air Force, Jimmy McKee, escorted by Curtis Hooton. United States Coast Guard, Bob Moan, escorted by George Mann. In 2008, the National Defense Authorization Act allowed the Secretary of Defense to facilitate a program in commemoration of the Vietnam War. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. More than 50,000 troops died during that war. Our next guest served in Vietnam. He also escorted a 1,500-pound piece of steel girder from the 2001 World Trade Center attack in New York to bring it back to the War Memorial in Milwaukee. Please welcome Vietnam veteran and my brother, Joe Campbell.
You know, what do you do when you try to share with a wonderful group of people and find out that everything you were going to say has already been said? We love you too. You know, at the end of the movie Saving Private Ryan, something very, very significant was shared. Captain John Miller, just prior to his death, tells Private Ryan, whispering in his ear, "Earn it." And years later, in Normandy, at the grave of Captain Miller, Private Ryan with his family went to the grave site. Private Ryan knelt down, said a prayer, and his wife came over, touched him on the shoulder. He stood up and asked his wife, "Please tell me I've lived a good life. Please tell me I'm a good man." Very, very touching. Knowing what he carried all those years. Now, being a Vietnam vet, we gave you a little taste of the rain about a half an hour ago. And the skies had parted. Vietnam, sometimes referred to, is the war we wish we could forget. But the Vietnam vet, for the most part, with their wonderful welcome home we got, they loved us. They gave us the finger, and we were number one, and they just couldn't thank us enough. And so many of us went into what I would call a bunker. Just get over it, get away from it, and leave me alone. But we've learned from that. At the end of the movie Platoon, you probably think all I do is watch movies. But at the end of the movie Platoon, something very profound was said at the very end. Charlie Sheen, whatever actor he played, is in the helicopter flying out. And there's a talkover. And in that talkover, he said, "The war is over for us now, but it will always be there for the rest of our days." How true that is. And rightfully so. We lived it. But be that as it may, those of us that made it, and that's us here, have an obligation to build again and to teach others what we know, and then try with what's left of our life to find a goodness and meaning to this life. Now, I know a number of the Gold Star mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, wives, as I refer to as the Gold Star families. They're the ones living the hard part. But our part as Vietnam vets have strived for as we heal is never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. Never. And we will make sure that our Desert Storm, Iraqi, Afghanistan vets are never, ever treated the way we were. That helps us heal. That helps us heal. I would like to conclude, and normally I would not do this, but my fellow vets know when I say something like this. Now, I was, my terminated date of leaving Vietnam, I forget the military term, that was 50 years ago. Eros. Deros. What does that mean? I know what it meant. That's the day I was getting the hell out of there. That's what day it was. And it was February 12th, 1968, right after the Tet Offense. On February 7th, I had 4 and a wake-up, and my brother vets know what that is. That wake-up was the important one. So on February 7th, I knew 4 more days and 1 wake up, I got the 12th. But my company commander came to me on February 7th and said, Campbell, you got 2 hours to get out of here. You're going home. Oh my God, was I happy. Don't know why I was going, but I'm going home. Got on that Freedom Bird, landed in Oakland, and they loved me when I got into that airport. I wasn't old enough to drink. Can you believe that? They wouldn't even serve me a drink. But nonetheless, years later, when that Vietnam Memorial Wall went up in Washington, and they had a website to go on, I took a look at Joseph Campbell, February 6th, 1968, paid the ultimate sacrifice. He gave me my seat to go home. And if you don't think I will ever forget the service of him and the 58,000 of my brothers that paid the ultimate sacrifice, I love the freedom that we have. And I thank the VA for providing this wonderful, glorious day to commemorate and remember not just our fallen, but those of us that live, knowing that their spirits are alive in us because of you. Thank you and God bless.
Oh, do it again. That was really good. While I am extremely honored to have this position of MC, I think in the future it should come with a box of Kleenex. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. At this time, please welcome the West Side Soldiers Aid Society for the presentation of wreaths.
Testing. Presenting the first wreath, POW MIA, Wisconsin Vietnam chapter. Okay. Military Order of the Purple Heart. POW MIA. Stars and Stripes Honor Flights. Zablocki VA Medical Center Voluntary Service. VFW Post 2028 and the VA Alumni Club. The American GI Forum. West Side Soldiers Aid Society. cross. Fleet Reserve Association. Visually impaired veterans. Salvation Army. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Fiddler Post 9469. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Fiddler Post 9469 Auxiliary. Masonic Service Association. Milwaukee Metropolitan NCOs Council. Honoring Naomi Horwitz, American Legion Post 448. Civil Air Patrol, Waukesha Composite Squadron. Milwaukee American Legion Band. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Bayview Post 2879. Friends of Reclaiming Our Heritage. American Gold Star Mothers and Fathers. Veterans of America Motorcycle Club. Vietnam Veterans Chapter 324. Badger Detachment 348, Marine Corps League. Zablocki VA Medical Center Nurses. And again, Zablocki VA Medical Center Nurses. AMVETS Department of Wisconsin and AMVETS Department of Wisconsin Auxiliary. Okay. Rolling Thunder, with special thanks to the 128th Air Refueling Wing for their help with dog tags. Cruiser Milwaukee Division Navy Operations Support Center. Disabled American Veterans and Disabled American Veterans Auxiliary. Daughters of the American Revolution. Milwaukee Professional Firefighters Local 215 Auxiliary. And Wood National Cemetery.
Merlin Ray Allen. William Tam Arnold. Norman Carl Billop. Thomas Blackman. Richard Lee Bowers. Ira Robert Bush. Paul David Derby. Donald William Downing. Walter Frank Drager, Jr. William Anthony Evans. Charles R. Filins. Edwin James Fickler. Richard William Fisher. Paul Reed Fraser. Donald Lewis Gallagher. Paul S. Gee, William D. Gorsuch, John Francis Hartzheim, Richard J. Hintz, Raymond Thomas Hine, Roy Arthur Haas, Randolph L. Johnson, James Allen Ketterer, Roy Robert Kubley, David LaHaye, David Leverett Leet, Todd Melton, Harold John Moe, William C. Pearson III, Dale W. Richardson, Peter Alden Schmidt, Dwayne Solier, Albert Raymond Trudeau, James Neil Teich, James Lee Van Bendegam. Last one, Robert Frederick Wilkie. The remaining balloons will be for all the veterans through all the years of the American wars. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day.
Carl Cook provided the echo in the ceremony taps for several years. In memory of Carl Cook's passing in 2014, this year's echo is played by Zoe Krause, Coast Guard veteran and VA employee.
As we stand before these tombs, we are reminded of the lives of the many soldiers has taken to accomplish our freedom, to the tradition that has made these funerals possible, and the many lives these soldiers have touched one way or another. We stand today in the presence of God before our fallen comrades, asking the Almighty to keep them in His eternal heart. We also pray for the many servicemen and women throughout the world who wear their uniform to be proud as they stand for our nation. We salute them, we pray for them, and ask for their blessings for all. Amen.
Before we conclude the 2050 Memorial Day ceremony, the Milwaukee VA Chaplain Service invites everyone to the Medical Center Chapel for a prayer service at 12:30. Wood National Cemetery thanks Senator Tammy Baldwin, Ed Garza, Chris Abley, Matthew Lapine, and Matt Mansfield for attending today. And finally, I leave you with the words of late orator Robert Green Ingersoll, "For all who perished in America's name. They died for liberty, they died for us. They are at rest. They sleep in the land they made free, under the flag they rendered stainless. Earth may run red with other wars, but they are at peace. In the midst of the battles, in the roar of the conflict, they found the serenity of death." Please rise for the retiring of colors. Color Guard, retire colors. Thank you for joining us today.